Welcome to the Your Story video series brought today by the Public Speakers Association. I'm so excited to introduce to you our amazing guest star today is Natalie Forrest. She is not only an international speaker, a business just transformational and life-changing coach, and a best-selling author. Natalie, take it from here.
Well, thank you, Tanya. I don't know what else to say. I think that this is it. That's what I am. But I'm actually more than that. And thank you for giving us, all speakers, the space to share our story, because it brings it home so much more. You know, we're just like everybody else. At least I am. I have a life. I had a life. I'm going to continue to have a life. So, you know, I usually start out with a little story about myself that leads to how did I come to call myself revolutionary? Because most of the time when you see me, you probably don't think that. I mean, I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, and all of that good old traditional stuff, which I love and adore. But at one point, I was actually on a radio show, and probably about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. And on that radio show, the very last question came out of the blue, and I was like, where's this coming from? And the person actually asked me, do you consider yourself a revolutionary? And it took me aback a moment, because I never really saw myself as that, because I also have a traditional side to me. But when she asked that question, sort of like all the light bulbs started coming up. And it was like, yes, I am. And this is actually how my brand got created. And so when she asked me that question, you know, you have flashbacks sometimes. You always see this in the movie, right? All of a sudden, you think your life is ending. You get all these flashbacks. So that's sort of what happened to me in that moment. It was really cool. And so I saw myself as a little kid. And most of the time we don't do that, right? But I saw myself as a little kid. And I realized that when I was there, I already knew what I was going to do. So if anything, I would have thought I'm a straight shooter. I was very intuitive and all of that good stuff. And in that, I was the last child. So I was taking care of everybody. So really, really straightforward. But then I realized that her question was absolutely appropriate, because I had applied when I was a student to study overseas. I'm from Germany, so overseas means the United States, where I live now. And we have a very small but close-knit family. So I had applied, and I actually got the scholarship. And so all of a sudden, I'm leaving everything that I know. I'm moving into a country where I have no idea what I'm going to face. And a lot of people would call that revolutionary, and it was actually kind of scary at some points. It was a great experience, and then guess what? I came back, I studied at a different university, and I became what we love to refer to as a war bride. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not that old. So I'm not a war bride in the sense of really, really old, but I met a United States citizen, and we happened to fall in love and get married and all of that stuff. So that's why I love to call myself a war bride as well. But what then really happened was, it was like a wake-up call. So I was in this marriage, and he's a good guy, but our marriage just ended up being, let's just call it a disaster. I was trying to save him because of all of my background patterns. He was trying to save himself, and then, you know, it clashes, and a lot of stuff happened in that marriage that we could turn into a movie, but I'm not going to go there. So finally, I realized that this is not me. And the reason why I realized that this was not me, because I felt pain all the time. So a couple of years into this relationship, into this marriage, all of a sudden, at times I couldn't move. It was like, it started from here, the shoulders down, and everything started hurting. And a friend of mine at that point looked at me at one point and said, so how long are you going to suffer like this? And when she said that, there's my little warrior revolutionary piece coming out. I looked at her and said, well, just watch me. Which, of course, was not really the appropriate response for somebody who tries to tell you that you're about to really, really be sick and possibly go someplace else. So after that conversation, I realized that this could not go on. I was in so much pain that at times I couldn't move. I had to stay at home. I couldn't go to work. I mean, it was horrible. I even went to acupuncture, and I don't like needles. So I did all of that. And then I realized that the pain and everything was my wake-up call. And very often we don't really realize our wake-up calls, but that was like clear as daylight. Now remember, I'm in a foreign country. I have no family. He's pretty much got no family. And I got about 4 cats at this point in time. Because you know how you make up for the love that you want? You just buy pets or something like that. So all of that was happening. And that's when I started making another change. We need to listen to our bodies. And I used to be intuitive. That's why I told you when I was born, right? So I used to be intuitive, and I had sort of like shut that out a little bit because it can be kind of scary at times. And listening to your body and all this stuff that a lot of people for the last 20 years said, don't worry about it. And now we're finally coming back to embracing it. Okay. So I started listening to my body, and I started to understand the patterns that I was in. I was always trying to save people. I was always trying to help people. And in all of that, most likely, like many of you, I didn't take care of myself. It was always about the other. And when I realized that, I started, okay, I need to somehow fix this. So I'm not a morning person. I'm really not a morning person. And coffee doesn't wake me up. I only drink it when I like it. And so I started getting up earlier. And I started to have my cafe latte. If you ever want to have coffee with me, cafe latte is what I do. Okay, so let's sit down together and have a cafe latte. But this was in the morning before the rest of the house was up. And you know, I was just trying to focus. I was having the coffee, I was doing some yoga, and I reconnected with myself. And the next revolutionary step that I took is we had this argument. I don't know if you've ever been to something like that. I remember very well. We were standing in our little office, and we had an argument. And all of a sudden, this is going to sound really weird and spooky, but all of a sudden I felt like I was watching it from above. I was watching this argument from above, the scene unfolding down there, and I wasn't emotional anymore. You know, in an argument, usually you scream at each other, and we've been doing that for a couple of years at that point. So it was like, no. I looked at it and I said, this is silly. This is like the X time that we're doing this. And once I realized I was above it, I realized I was done. I started being very calm from then on, and now it was time to split. Now the relationship, as I said, had its quirky parts, and so it took me a while to get back to me, but I had to leave in a country where I didn't know anybody. I pretty much had no friends at that point because all I had been doing was antagonize them or not listen to them. So I was truly alone. I had a job, but I also had the 4 cats. And all of a sudden, I was trying to make a life for myself. And this is where the intuition and the faith and the whatever you want to call it comes in. But I just had to think that I could do that. And of course, I hadn't told my family back home about all of that. I just let them know that I was going to leave. He wasn't happy with that either. But when you put your faith in that, or when you put your belief or your trust in that, it actually can happen. You know, some of us like me, we believe in alchemy. So I had set everything up, even though I'm a revolutionary, I'd set everything up in a very structured way. Started to reconnect with myself. I recovered myself. I rediscovered myself, and I was ready. And then I left. I found this place closer to the new job that I had. I had just bought a car as well. And logically speaking, there was no way I would have been able to support myself because I had the car, I had cats, I had the apartment, but it worked. And in that time period that I then left him and spent time all alone by myself, I made another transition because I started a business. And that was really strange. I'm a teacher. If you know anything about teachers, this is one of my patterns, right? One of my rituals, we give. Now you can't do that in business. So I had to revolutionize myself. And the way I did that was by really unlocking all of those patterns. I took like 3 months. I just sat there, I did my yoga and all of that, lost a lot of weight. It's funny how that works. And I just really followed all the patterns, all the rituals that I had, and started throwing all the ones out that I didn't like. At the end of that summer, I knew who I was, but I still had a long way to go, of course. I still had a long way to go. I was very happy with myself. I was very happy with my cats. Yes, I am a cat person. I'm really a cat person. So I was very happy with everything. And then life hit, which means my mother needed me for a little bit. So I took care of her. She came over. I took care of her. And then there was this guy in the background. And that got really annoying at some point. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love guys, but it was really annoying because I was so happy I had just made in a foreign country without any help from anybody, my own life. I was participating in a little group. We were meeting once a week. We were doing some training for personal development. I was into Reiki and those things, which I still am in. So I was starting more of a spiritual journey back to myself. And then this guy came up, was not really fun. And completely different. I mean, it couldn't be further apart. But guess what? Here we are today. I'm married, obviously for the second time, to that guy who's like completely different from me. Completely. I mean, he likes things that I can't even imagine. But what was revolutionary, or what is revolutionary about our relationship, is that we can be ourselves. So when we first met, it was not like, oh, yeah, I wouldn't tell him that I really liked sports, because I really don't. We were just honest with each other, and there was no pressure any which way. And so, today I'm married happily. I have an amazing kid, and I keep revolutionizing myself. I keep working on myself, because we're always a work in progress. And there's so many things from the outside that keep hitting us every day. There is no overnight success. There is no, I'm done and everything is dandy. It's every day a little bit of work. And the way that I deal with it is by really looking at things and going, how does it serve others? How does it serve me? And in this whole process, I've discovered my talents even more. And now I'm able to help everybody with their hidden patterns. I think Carolyn Myss calls them spells, which I really like. The spells that we're all under from societal norms. So I get into mine, because that's the first step. I had to do it first. I had to find my hidden patterns. What is really getting me where I am? How did I get here? And if I don't like it, how can I get out? And there's this little fire burning. So I have a little bit of an explosive emotional temper at times. So I'm trying to work on that. But other than that, just those hidden patterns, once you know them, once you can take care of them, you can actually understand your purpose. And I know my purpose, and do I like it 100%? No. Doing a show like this is fun, and I'm yet a very private person. So I have to balance those two. I never wanted to be in the limelight or anything like that, but somebody said, you need to get out there. And when you understand it with your heart and soul that, yes, I have to get out there, then you just have to. There are times when I just want to hide. There are times when I just play with my daughter. I love watching her do karate or play music and just be a mom. So very often nowadays when somebody asks me, what are you? I just say, I'm Felicity's mom. But I'm also more, and it's okay to compartmentalize at times, and I have to. So my priorities are clear, my values are clear, my purpose is clear, I understand my full potential. And sometimes we get sidetracked because we have other things come in, but I know how to achieve my best performance in everything that I do. And the key is very, very simple, very simple. You just need to be you. And a lot of people are afraid of that. And that's another thing that's really revolutionary. Whenever you put all those other capes on, that's not you. And then your passion's not there, your heart's not there. And so let's just have a coffee and figure out who we are. And if we all can just be ourselves, we're already revolutionary, and we're all going to be so much happier and less stressed. It's amazing how it works. Now, am I completely where I want to be? No, I'm a work in progress. And I know there are always side tours. I get distracted sometimes with a lot of opportunities. But you just got to keep your eye on the goal. And that's what I'm doing. I'm keeping my eye on the goal. I'm just following the purpose that I understand I have. And I want you to be able to do the same. Like I said, nobody's an overnight success. It does take some work. And I know in coaching, we're not supposed to use the term work, but I work on myself every day. And there are days when I wake up and I'm yay. And there are days when I wake up and I'm like, oh, really? And that's okay, because we have a human experience here. So I wanted to share a little bit of my life with you. I would love to sit down with you in one way or another and chat a little bit. That's why I keep mentioning the coffee, because I really like coffee. After all, I'm German, I'm European. So, if you ever want to bribe me or anything, coffee is a good way to do it. But if you'd like to figure out how you can be more of you, why don't we just have a coffee, just a virtual coffee, or if you're in my area, wherever I am at any point in time, we can even get together. But I love to help you figure out who you are, because that revolutionary step is going to make your life so much happier, easier, and successful, because that's how you perform your best every day. And I think I'm supposed to give you the little link. So it's bit.ly/NFI_coffee. And NFI, of course, stands for Natalie Force International, which is this company that out of nowhere I was asked to create, coming from Germany, where we really don't have a lot of entrepreneurs. And having been a teacher all my life, I now find myself training teams, leadership, and all of that, which is really fun. So let's chat. Let's see if I can help you be you and just live a happy life. And thanks for watching. And thanks, Tanya, for making this possible.